Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Previous period, we discussed about the components of current account. Amal, can you tell me what are the components of current account? So many things we listed out. What all things are coming in that? Amal? Hmm?
Merchandise.
Merchandise. It is also
Ma'am,
known as, it in another name. What is that? Visible. Visible items or visible goods. Okay. Then after merchandise. In merchandise, what all things are coming? Hmm?
ma'am,
Hmm.
factor income from abroad.
Wait. Income from abroad and income to abroad, that is different. Sharath, can you tell what all comes under visible items?
Import of goods and export of goods.
Import and exports of goods. Okay. That is a trade in goods. Another one, second one. So visible items over. And another item, what comes? Aparna, what is that?
Ma'am, invisible item.
Invisible items. In the invisible items, what all are coming? Aditya?
Export of services.
Ah.
Import of services.
Okay, so one sector, that is one area, that is services. I mean factor income. Another one,
Factor income from abroad. Factor
No.
payment.
from, okay,
Sure.
factor payment over. Factors are done. Next one,
Transfer receipts from a
okay, one more thing is there in the trade and services, a non-factor income. Okay, that non-factor income includes, I told that shipping, banking, insurance, all those things are coming. Okay, another one, what you said, that is transfer payments. What do you mean by transfer payments, Femina? What all comes under transfer payments? Femina, previous periods also I called you and no response from your side. Tomlin, can you say? He joined just now, I think. Ashish, what all comes under transfer payments?
Gift.
Then gifts, donations, and all those things comes under transfer payments. And there are two types of transfer payments. Which are they, Aishwarya?
Transfer payments from abroad and to abroad,
Okay, in that there are also two divisions. It can be done by
private or
yeah,
by officials.
government transfer payments are there, or government, I mean private transfers also are there. Okay, so current account, I told you, it is a record of trade in goods and services. It comes record of export and import of service, export and import of goods, services, and transfer payments. Okay, next. It is related to, I told, current account. We have two important parts on that: balance of trade, balance of on invisibles. Balance of trade, in the sense it is related only to the visible items. It is mainly related to the import of goods and export of goods. So what do you mean by balance of trade? If they ask, you have to write it is the difference between value of export of goods and value of import of goods. Now, export of goods, it is entered on the credit side. Import of goods, it is entered on the debit side. Now, when we say balance of trade in balance, or it is there is no surplus, there is no deficit. That is when the value of export of goods, when it is equal to the value of import of goods, that situation we can say balance of trade is in balance, or it is equal. It is also known as a trade balance. So balance of trade is also known as trade balance. It can be positive or it can be negative. When we have positive balance of trade, that whenever we have surplus BOT, that time this will be recorded in positive. So whenever our value of exports are more than value of imports, then we can say there will be a surplus balance of trade. See here, when I'm talking about balance of trade, so value of import of goods and export of goods are mentioned. So we have a positive balance of trade, or we have a surplus balance of trade when it is, when do we have a surplus balance of trade? Anila?
When exports is equal to
When do we have surplus balance of trade? When do we have surplus balance of trade? Once more, Anila?
if countries exports of goods is more than imports.
Yeah, exports of goods are more than imports of goods. That situation, we will have a surplus balance of trade. Shubham, can we say then what, when do we have this deficit balance of trade? Hmm? Shubham. Surplus, I told you. So what situation, at what situation we will have deficit balance of trade? Shubham, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then tell.
Ma'am, when exports of goods are into credit items.
See, deficit balance of trade means what? We are in deficit, we are in less. So, when it will be? When our balance of trade is in deficit. When is it in, when it is in surplus? I told you. When it will be in surplus? Shubham? It will be in surplus, or when the balance of trade will be, when we can call the balance of trade as a surplus balance of trade. It is related to export and import of goods. When we say surplus balance of trade, our exports will be more than imports. Got it? What I said, Shubham?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is surplus here? Exports are? Yes, tell Shubham. Once more, I will say, just listen. We have surplus balance of trade when the value of exports of our goods are more than the value of import of our goods. Got it what I said? Shubham, I'm asking you.
Value of exports
Are?
good, more than the import goods.
More than the value of import of goods. That situation, we can say our balance of trade is surplus. So when it will be deficit, that's what I'm asking. We are in short of.
When import value will be more than the
Yes,
export
when
value.
imports are more than the value of export, we can say that we have deficit balance of trade. Okay, so here the trade deficit will arise when the export of goods is less than import of goods, or what you said, when the value of import of goods are more than the value of exports of goods. Now next, another term what you have to learn, that is balance on invisibles. You know what all things are coming under invisibles. So it is a difference between value of exports and the value of imports of invisibles of a country. What all comes under invisibles? What all comes under, or what all comes as a part of invisibles? Grishma,
Ma'am, services.
services, then transfers, all those things comes under invisibles. So here when we say balance on invisibles, it is the value of it is a difference between the value of exports and the value of imports of invisibles of a particular country in a given period of time. There also you can see it includes services, transfers and flows of income between the countries, whether it can be inflow or it can be outflow. So net invisibles, when we say net invisibles, it is the difference between the value of exports and value of imports in terms of invisibles of a country. So another one more important point related to net invisibles that you have studied like NFIA, how we are getting the same way. You can get the net invisibles also. It is the difference between value of exports and value of imports, that in the case of invisibles of a particular country. Next one, all these whatever I told now, it is related to current account. Current account. Now, what do you mean by overall current account balance? Current account is in balance, is in equal situation when it will be when the receipts and the payments are same, or when the receipts are equal to payments. That situation we can say current account is in balance. So current account is in balance when it is, Aishwarya, when the current account is in balance,
When receipts on current accounts.
when the receipts and
Uh,
correct, say.
Payments are equal.
Yeah, when the receipts and payments are equal on the current account. Okay. Now, current account surplus, when is that situation? It is a situation where we have excess receipts from where? From the value of exports of visible and invisible items and the unilateral transfers. This you take it all together. All these things are together. Okay. Value of exports of visible item, invisible item, unilateral transfers. If it is more over payments, payments for value of imports of visible item, invisible item and unilateral transfers, that situation we can say that current account is in surplus. We can put it in another word or as a short form, that is CAS. Okay. So current account surplus means receipts will be excess. In what all matters the receipts will be excess? In the value of export of visible item, invisible item and unilateral transfers over the payments. Payments will be less and receipts will be more. For what all we are doing the payments, it is for visible item, invisible item and unilateral transfers. Now next one, it is a CAD, that is current account deficit. Current account deficit in the sense the value of exports will be less. Whatever we are receiving, receipts will be less than the payments. Okay, here, so value of all the exports of visible item, invisible item, unilateral transfers will be less than the value of imports of visible item, invisible item and unilateral transfers. So here you can see the current account when we are taking all the three things into consideration, but balance of trade when we are taking only one thing, that is visible goods. Okay, so current account deficit means when we will have current account deficit. Anila, Aparna. When do we have?
Ma'am, when the value of exports of visible items, invisible item and unilateral transfers is less than the value of imports of visible item, invisible item and unilateral transfers.
Okay, now current account deficit shows that the nation is a borrower from the rest of the world. Why do we say that nation is a borrower here? Because our receipts are more or less.
Less
Less than what?
payments.
Less than payments. Is it less than payments? Correct? Yes or no? Whatever we are receiving, that is less than our payments. So what happens? Do we have enough money with us?
No.
No. So we can say that then the rest of money, how can we get? This shows that we have to borrow from the world. So current account deficit shows that the nation is a borrower from the rest of the world here. Okay. So this is about current account deficit. Next one. This is given in your textbook also. If it is an old one, here I think they have given us a surplus only. You can just correct it as a deficit. Okay, just check your textbook. Is it given as surplus or deficit? So three situations is given. Current account surplus where the receipts will be more than payments. Balanced current account, receipts will be equal to payments. Current account deficit, we can see that receipts will be less than payments. What is given in your textbook?
Surplus.
Okay, so you can change that. In the new textbook, they have corrected it. What is the page number, Aparna?
Ma'am, page number 87.
97.
Ma'am,
Which-
87.
87. Okay, just check. Others also can just check. Okay. Now, next one is about components of capital account. Like current account, there are various components for capital account also. Here, three things you can see: investments, borrowings, assistance. External borrowings it is, all external assistance it is. Investment, there are two divisions: direct investment, portfolio investment. External borrowings, that what you borrow from other countries. External assistance, whatever government help we are getting. Sometimes some kind of special kind of loans we are getting. When we talk about government aid here, the government, other governments may give us loans or at a very low rate of interest. That is why it is given as government aid here. Okay, it is a short-term loans, especially they are giving at a very low rate of interest. Now, what do you mean by capital account? Who can say? What do you mean by capital account? If I ask like that, nobody is there to answer. What do you mean by capital account? You have written down what is capital account, what is current account. What is capital account? At least open that and read and tell me what it is.
It records all inflows and outflows of foreign.
A little more louder. Records. It was not clear. That's what I told. Just tell. It is a record of receipts and payments of those, or it is a record of all transactions which affect the assets and liability of our country with the rest of the world. So capital account means it is a record of all transactions. But what is the speciality? It has an impact on the assets and liabilities of our country with relation to the world. Now, the assets or liabilities, can be increased or decreased. So it records all the international transactions of assets. It records all the international transactions of assets. Okay, the other one mainly we talked about goods. It can be visible, invisible, and transfer payments. Here, it is a record of all international transactions of assets here. So it is a record which shows all the transactions which has an impact on assets and liabilities of a country with the rest of the world. It can be increased or it can be decreased. Now, what all things are coming in the capital account? Here, borrowings and lending to and from abroad. Either we can borrow or we can lend. When we say borrowings, is it a receipt or is it is it an inflow or is it outflow? When we talk about borrowing, is it an inflow or outflow?
Inflow.
It is inflow. Okay. So where we will be marking that? Is it on the credit side or the debit side?
Debit.
In the whatever inflow will be marked where?
Credit side.
Credit side.
Credit side. Okay, here we often there is a chance of getting confused here. So you just understand that whatever be the inflow, okay, whatever be the inflow, everything will be marked in the credit side. Okay, so here you see borrowings from abroad that will be marked. For time being, it is an inflow. Okay, for time being, it is an inflow. But at the same time, you can see what is written here. It increases our foreign liability. Okay, so anything, it can be borrowing, it can be anything. Don't show that whether it is a liability or asset. Anything which is coming inside our country, that will be marked in the credit side. Okay, so first one I told you borrowings and lendings. So borrowings from abroad, it will be marked on the credit side. Loans given abroad, we are giving it outside, but it is going, we are using that, we are using it off. Okay, so that comes under debit side. But at the same time, you can see it is an increase in the foreign asset. Okay, so just keep this in your mind. Anything inflow marked on the credit side, anything outflow, anything we are using the foreign exchange. Maybe it is increasing our asset, but that comes under the debit side. Okay. Another one point you can see related to it. Just 1 minute. So borrowings and lending to and from abroad, that will come under the capital account. Borrowings will be in which side? Aparna?
Ma'am, credit side.
On the credit side, because it is an inflow of the foreign exchange. And about lending, we are giving it outside. So that will be marked on which side, Aishwarya?
Ma'am, can you repeat it once again?
Borrowings and lending. Okay, as a country, we may borrow from outside, we may lend to other countries. Borrowings are, what is happening in the borrowing? Tell me.
We're getting money from other countries.
Money, yeah, we are getting the money from other countries. So that is an inflow. Inflow is marked in which side?
Credit.
Credit side. Same way, lending. Lending is coming or otherwise lending comes under which category? Inflow or outflow?
Outflow.
Outflow. It is going outside. So that will be marked on which side?
Debit side.
Debit side. Okay. So that you keep it in your mind. Same way, all the transactions relating to borrowing abroad by private individuals, institutions, government. Here, what I told regarding borrowings and lending, I told you between the countries. So it will be between the government of a particular country. The same thing can happen between private people also, private institutions also. So that also will be marked in the same way. If if as a person I am borrowing from outside any other person outside our country, that will be marked in on which side? Karthik?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question?
See, as a person, I am a private person right inside our country. I am borrowing from a person from US. Okay. So that will be
Credit side.
marked. Okay, credit side. For somebody, if I am lending to somebody outside the country, that will be on the debit side. Okay, so just understand, as a country, countries can borrow between, governments can borrow between, private institutions can borrow, private people can borrow. So when we borrow things, it is coming inside our country for time being, but at the same time, keep it in your mind. What about, is it an asset or liability? Someone, is it an asset or liability? Is there any confusion regarding this? Is it an asset or liability? Aditya?
Ma'am, can you repeat it again?
See, I borrowed some money from outside, right? That comes under which side?
Credit side.
Credit side. Okay. Is it a liability or asset?
Liability.
It is a liability, correct. Okay. So just understand that any inflow which is coming to our country, it's not necessary that it will be an asset alone. It can be liability also. Because what is that liability? Because I have to, after some time, whether I can keep that money with me.
Prepaid.
I have to repay. So that is a liability for me. Okay. So understand these things. So anything which are recorded on the credit side, which is a liability, that should be repaid. Okay. So here, loan repayments by the foreigners. Loan repayment by the foreigners in the sense what? What do you mean by loan repayment by the foreigners? Sharath,
The foreigners
can you say what do you mean by loan repayments by the foreigners? What is that?
the foreigners repay their loan.
Okay, foreigners are repaying the amount of money. So that comes in the credit or debit side?
Debit.
It comes under debit or credit?
Debit.
Debit. Is it an inflow or outflow?
Inflow.
Inflow. So that should come under where? You are giving loan to foreigners, that comes under debit. But here it is repayment, right? You are getting. So it will come under which side?
Credit side.
Credit side. Don't get confused. You just think that if it is coming to our country, whether it is borrowing, anything, if it is coming to our country, it is an inflow that will be marked on the credit side. Okay. Now, all transactions of lending to abroad, we are giving outside. To private people, it can be, private institutions, it can be, or it can be given to the foreign government. All those things. And at the same time, repayment. I have taken a loan before, now I am repaying. I am giving it back, using it, outflowing. So that is marked on the which side? Debit item. Okay. Where are you going to mark that? Tell. Let it be wrong. Then only we will understand, right? You are investing. I am investing some amount of money, or I am starting an industry. So investment is done. So where it will be marked? Credit or debit side?
Debit.
Debit side. It is correct. Okay. Because it is an outflow now. For time being, it is an outflow. What about it is is it a liability or asset? Is it a liability or asset?
Asset.
It is an asset. Okay. So on the credit side, there can be liability and asset. Debit side also, there can be a liability and asset. Once more, I'll take that. Yes. Here, you see. Investment from abroad. What do you mean by investment from abroad? Tell.
Foreigners investing in our country.
Foreigners investing in our country. So for time being, we are getting that amount of money, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so that will be marked where? Credit.
Credit.
Because it is an inflow. But you just think that whether it is a liability or asset.
Liability.
It is a liability because that is not ours. Okay, if they want to wind up and go, they will take everything and go off. So that is a liability. Okay. Another one thing, yeah, it is written here. It can increase the foreign liability or decrease the foreign exchange. It can be in any manner. Okay. So investment from abroad, that comes under the credit. Investment made in another country by ourselves, that will be marked on the debit side. Borrow is from abroad, that we are getting for time being, but at the same time you see it is a liability for us. We are giving loans to abroad, we are giving to other country, that increases actually the foreign assets. It is an asset of ours because we will be getting it back with interest. Okay. Loan recovery from abroad. Loan recovery from abroad in the sense, now here loans given abroad, we consider it as foreign asset, right? We have given it to others. Now that loan we are recovering. Okay. We are recovering. You just imagine that this loan we are recovering from abroad. So their money is coming, but at the same time, what happened to our asset? Asset what we have given outside, it has reduced. Understood? Just once more, I'll tell you regarding the loans. Loans given abroad, that shows that our assets are increased now because we have given money, that it is an asset for us because others have taken. When at the same time, if that loan is recovered, if they are paying it back, what happens? We are getting the money back, but at the same time, this foreign asset has gone. It is reduced. Okay. So this is one aspect you can see. Another one, this loan recoveries, it can happen between governments, it can happen between private people, or it can happen between the private firms also, private industries also. At the same time, somebody has given us loans. This we are repaying, we are giving it back. So our liability of repayment has gone, it is reduced. Okay, so these are the things coming under capital account. Once more, now there are different divisions in investment that I will tell you later. First, you make this clear. Investment from abroad, that is coming under credit part. Investment to abroad, that is going from our country, so it will be recorded on the debit side. Borrowings from abroad, we are getting money for time being, but at the same time, the foreign liability, it increases our foreign liability. We have to pay it back. Loans given abroad, we have given, so our assets have increased. Loan recovery from abroad, we are getting that loan back. But what happened? What we invested in other, or what we gave as an asset to others, that is reduced here. Repayment of foreign loans, you can see we have paid it back, that liability. Now there is no liability for us to pay that amount of money to them. Now these borrowings can happen between the governments, between private people here. Okay. Now I'm going back to that slide. I told you in the capital account, we have borrowings and lending to and from abroad. All the transactions relating to borrowings between private individuals, institutions, government. At the same time, the loan repayments, everything is recorded as a credit items. All the transactions which are lending to, it may be to private individuals, institutions, or government. So this lending, repayment of foreign loan are recorded on the debit side. Why do we say repayment of foreign loan? How come it will be on the debit side? Because it is going out. We are repaying it. Foreign exchange is going. Foreign money is going to given to other country. But at the same time, our liability is reduced here. Okay. Now investments to and from abroad. Investments by, here ROW means rest of the world. Okay. Investments, it can be like either we can buy the shares of the companies, that is an investment, or we can invest money in the real estate, or we can buy or start some industry or buy some foreign companies. All these things are coming under investment. Now, whenever the investments by the Indian people in shares of foreign companies, okay, if Indian people or government also, if we are buying shares of foreign companies, that means what? It is an outflow or inflow? We are buying share. Okay. So will it be an inflow or outflow? Outflow, right? When we are buying, what will happen? That moment you think, don't think afterwards we will get it back. When we buy, I have to give
Outflow.
I have to give money. So it is an outflow, right? When we are buying, what is happening? I have to give money. That means I am giving to the foreign companies, right? So it is an outflow. So that will be marked, recorded where? On the debit item. Okay, just read all these things once more to just make that into your mind, that anything when we buy, in the sense money is going from my hand. I'm using that money. Whenever uses are coming, it will be recorded in the debit item. Okay, so whenever Indian residents are buying shares of foreign companies, this will be marked in the debit item. Or maybe foreign branches of Indian company, in the sense, Indian companies are set up in the foreign countries. So there also, when you are buying the shares, it is outside, actually, it is set up outside. So your money is going. And if you are spending money for real estate, or you are buying some land, property, your money is going. It is an asset for you. But at the same time, money is going out. It is an outflow. That is why it is recorded in the debit item. So these are few examples related to investment. Investment can be made abroad, or foreign people can make investment in our country. I told you, whenever foreigners are investing money in our country, on which side are we marking?
Credit side.
Credit side. Credit side. Okay. See, foreigners are investing in our country. So they are bringing money inside. Okay, it is an inflow. So what happens? This will be marked in the credit side, even though it is a liability. Why do we say it's a liability? Why do we say it's a liability? Tell. Foreign investment in our country is a liability. Why?
When they withdraw it, we have to give them back.
Yeah, when they want to finish it off, everything they will be taking and they will be going. It is their property. But at the same time, when they invest in our country, it is an inflow. Foreign exchange is coming to our country. It will be marked on the credit side. Okay. Now, same way, if Indians are investing abroad, Indians are starting one industry in other country, it will be marked on which side? Debit side. Okay. So here, investment from abroad, increases our, what it will be increasing what? I'm talking about in terms of liability and asset. Investment from abroad increases
Liabilities.
liability, increases our liability, because this should be paid back after some time. The same time, investment to abroad or investment made in another country increases what?
Assets.
Our assets. Okay, got it everyone? I hope everyone understood this. Okay. Just wait, I think it's time. Yeah, let me take the attendance. Just see, all these explanations are in very minute manner they have given. So just, I hope you might have done, pointed out all the notes. Just read once more and just make the things clear in your mind. Okay. Aditya?
Present, ma'am.
Anila? Anila?
Present,
Absent?
ma'am.
Okay, present. Anju?
Present, ma'am.
Aparna?
Present, ma'am.
Atul? Basil? Basil?